First one we are going to deploy to is something called Now. And Now is like a super simple way to host really any kind of app. They are really good with Docker, Node, and static websites, but because they support Docker, you can really host any type of application on it. In our case, we are going to be hosting our Node app straight away on Now, and they have a both a free plan as well as a premium plan. And this is by far the easiest way to get an application up and running on the internet nice and quickly without having to really worry about any of like the server sidey stuff. So how do we do that? Well, first thing that we need to do is go back to our package.json and give Now just a little bit of information about what our application is going to look like. So let's open up our package.json. And by the way, you can now change the name of your actual thing to something that you much prefer. I've said, dang, that's delicious. But you could call that something like Wes loves snacks, or you can name it whatever you like, and you can also give it a version 0.0.1. Now, what we want to do is we need to add a new object to our package.json that has stuff that is specific to now.sh. So we're going to go in here and make a now property, and this is JSON. This is not JavaScript, so you can't just start saying like now or whatever. You have to use double quotes now, and that is equal to an object, and make sure you put the quote after it. Okay, so we have our Now, and there is just one possible thing that we need to pass here, and that is the .env, and you can tell it where the environmental variables are going to be coming from. So we have this variables.env file, and I'm going to create a new one, save it as variables.env.now. And why is that? Well, because we need to put our different stuff in here. So I'm going to say, this is production. I'm going to keep the same database. I'm going to keep the same mail stuff. The port is going to be 80. Map key and secret, those are all going to stay the same. Now, these are the environmental variables that are going to be put onto the server. However, it is not going to actually upload this file to the server. What it will do is it will set them on the server for us. And then when we actually deploy our process.env.nodeen.database.mail-user, those are all going to be available to us. And Now has a little tool that will do that for you if you just tell it where your environmental file is. So we're going to tell it it's called variables.env.now. And again, this variables.env.now, because we've put it in our git ignore, it will A, not go on GitHub or whatever you are hosting it on, and B, it will also not be deployed to now.sh. And that's really, really important because now.sh by default, if you have the free plan, it will make your entire application public. And that's fine because the entire application is fine to be public, except for this stuff. You don't want to be showing, like I'm showing you in the world right now, but after I deploy this, I'm going to have to change all of my passwords. So it will not deploy your variables.env file or your variables.env.now file. It will just put them on the server so that even if you have a public instance of Now, which is the free plan, it will not be open to the public. So that's how we have our .env file. Now what you need to do is go ahead and sign up for a Now account. So I have already done that. You might have already done this because we've used Now in some of my other tutorials. So make sure you are signed up, and then you simply just need to go to your terminal. You'll need to install Now globally on your system. So the way you do that is you type npm install now-g. And what that will do is it will install globally on your system. If you're having troubles with permissions, you can always pop a sudo in front of it and then go figure out how to actually fix those permissions on your computer. Then I'm not going to do it because I already have it. You can test if you already have it with now-v, and that will show you which version you have. And clearly you must have a command called now there. And then you can simply go ahead and type now, and when you hit enter, it's either going to ask you to sign in with your username and your password, or it is going to start to deploy. And type now. And it's going to give you a URL. Copy it right to your clipboard, so you can go ahead and view that right now while we're waiting. And it's going to upload all of the files that we have. It's going to prepare the container. The sync, that was really quick. I guess it's because I've done this before. It generally takes like a minute or two to actually upload all of your files. And now what it's doing is it's installing all of the different pieces of data for us. It just gave it a start. It's doing npm start, and then it's running the command node start. The Express is running on port 80, and the deployment is complete. You go back here, ready, visit your website. Woohoo! There we go. go ahead and click over to some of these. You can see all of our data that we have here. We have all of our stores. Because I'm using my existing data, all of my data is already there, and I'd be able to go ahead and log in with any of the other websites that I have. So that's deploying to Now. Very, very straightforward. Not a whole lot to it. Let's look at some of the other possible options.